Welcome back to the Loan Officer Success Partner, sponsored by Premier Lending. I'm your host, Devin Dubuque, and today I've got a couple of legends in the building. One is a legend on the football field and a legend in the boxing ring. The other's a legend in the lending industry, and we're going to teach you how all those things come together. But welcome to the show, Shawn King with Arrive and Jimmy Ellis also with Arrive. But guys, man, so excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
It's great to be here. We're excited to talk.
I just wanted to start by saying I can speak for all of us that Arrive Home. It's a privilege. It's an honor to be working with Premier Lending with the ultimate goal of creating generational wealth through home ownership.
Amen.
Helping folks, helping others. That's what I'm all about, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, man, you guys do it so well too. You know, I mean, again, you guys have created some amazing programs to help people become homeowners, people that couldn't be homeowners without your program. And we're going to dive all into that. But, before we tackle that subject, I want to tackle a little bit of the background and tell the story because, you both have great stories. But Jimmy, yours is one that some people may already know. You come from the NFL football seat field, but also the boxing ring, man. So let's talk about your background a little bit, brother. Tell me, where are you from originally? Are you, I know you're in Utah.
I grew up all over the place when I was a kid, but we settled in Redondo Beach, California. And I could tell you this quick story. It's quite funny, but I was 12 years old, just a young kid, and I watched those professional football teams on TV, and I just fell in love with it. And I told my first year in Pop Warner, 12 years old, I played Pop Warner football, and I was a skinny little kid, and I got picked on and beat up and everything. I told my optimist coach, Craig Burris, that's his name, and I said, I'm going to play pro football. And he probably shook his head and said, oh, yeah, right, kid. Well, eventually I went on to high school. I started lifting weights, and I got big, real big. And I worked out every day and trained. That's all I thought in my mind. I told everybody I talked to, I'm going to play pro football. I'm going to play pro football.
My man.
And eventually, I got a scholarship to Boise State University in Idaho. And in 1987, I got drafted to the Los Angeles Raiders. And the first thing I did was call my old coach, Craig Burris. And I said, Craig, it's Jimmy. He said, Jimmy, I knew you were going to do it. I knew you were going to do it. Yeah. But it was awesome getting that. It was an honor, getting drafted by the Raiders. I mean,
dude, and an icon, man. You go back to, the Raiders of the days you were there. I mean, that was one of the teams, man. Like that was the one you wanted to be on.
Yeah. The prior year they won the Super Bowl, and so I was right on there, and I became good friends with Howie Long, the defensive end. You see him on TV all the time. He's a good person, man. He's a big guy.
Yeah. Well, you're a big guy still, but man, I've seen some of your shots from back then, man. You weren't joking. You went all in. You said, hey, look, I'm going to manifest this thing, but I'm going to put in the work to make that happen. And I think that's such an exciting thing to talk about because a lot of people talk about doing something, but brother, you just did it. You know what I mean? Like you did it.
I appreciate part of the transition I made from football to boxing, and they call boxing the lonely sport because it's one of those things that you have to do when others aren't there to push you to do it. It's not like football where the team, you have this and this and that. You have to do everything on your own. So I made it. My regimen was crazy. Now it's beautiful. I just wake up in the morning. I feel great. I'm not sore. I'm bald, but I'm
well,
good.
That's great to hear that, because I think that's a lot of people get good. How do you feel, years later, right? Like what is that toll you put on your body? And, man, it sounds like you figured it out. You figured out the secret to the sauce.
I think too, one of the big parts, I say this to a lot of people, especially like young kids and people that are doing sports. The key is to prepare your body for the punishment. The harder you work out, the harder you train, the more conditioned your body is, the more ability that you can take the punishment, you can take the injury. That's what it's all about. Preparing your body, and that's a big, it's hard to
conditioning.
Do.
Yeah, conditioning.
That was my biggest asset. I worked harder than I always said. I'm gonna work harder to be better than anybody. That's my goal.
Yeah. So from the Raiders, and if I remember right, you're a linebacker. Is that correct?
Sure. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, linebacker for the Raiders, and then you just decided, hey man, I'm gonna box it out too. You told me a little bit about that story though, like dual athletes. Like, was there any inspiration behind that?
Oh, absolutely. When I was with the Raiders, that was the year Bo Jackson came on the team, and he was playing baseball and football, and that's kind of gave me the idea.
Oh, knows.
Yes, and what I started doing, that was the NFL year. I got vested for the year, but that was the year of the NFL strike. And I got vested up for the year. And then to stay in shape, my number one thing is I want to get my degree. So I went back to school. While I was going to college at Boise State, I was to stay in shape. I started going to the gym, sparring and boxing.
Okay.
And then I thought I wasn't even hardly just a few months. I got a fight in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. You know Sean O'Grady, the O'Grady family?
Oh, yeah.
I know him well too, and Sean and the whole crew. Well, I got the opportunity to fight this guy, and it's a good story. I'll tell you real quick. But so I get in the ring, I get off the plane. On the way to the fight, it was in the auditorium. In the back seat of the car, they put the gloves on me. I wrap my hands. I'm getting ready to go. I go right into the ring, step right into the auditorium, go right up to the ring, and get in the ring with this guy who was a thin. I didn't like to fight those guys that were quick and fast and more hard to hit. You know, this guy was out there just popping me, pop, hit me in the head. And I'm like this with these gloves in my hand. I can't grab them. I can't throw them down. I got to, fight.
Yeah.
And the guy was just peppering me. And then all of a sudden I just wound up and bam, knocked him flat. And the experience is hard to describe, but it's the most relief that you could possibly have. It's a big challenge. But then also the crowd jumps up there going, I hear all this noise.
I can hear it, man. I can hear the bell ding. I can hear the crowd going wild. The look on your face. Because I saw you. Yeah, I've seen a couple of your fights, man. And I got to tell you, one thing I know you're known for is one, your power, but two, your chin, right? Like, you know how to take a punch. In fact, you've taken some punches from some of the hardest hitters in the freaking industry.
Well, I've always been really careful, like my health concerns and all that, because really, boxing, it's a brutal sport. And, it's not good getting hit in the head, but if you prepare yourself and take care of yourself, after every fight, I went and saw I had MRIs, I had everything tested. I made sure my health was good. My wife made me, make sure I'd stick around, but I prepared myself for it and I was able to take it. And I think a lot of that comes from football because there's not very many football players. There's very few that have gone into boxing, but my feel is any good football player, especially linebackers, be a successful boxer.
Yeah.
The guy, Mark Gastineau, remember from the Jets?
Mm-hmm.
He fought on one of my shows I put on in Boise, Idaho. And he made the transition like I did from football to boxing.
Yeah.
He did a great job. I was going to try to fight him. I even asked him, I said, Mark, let's put on a show. I'll fight. It'll be the first time ever in the history of the sport where a former professional football player fought another former professional.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'd pay money for that fight.
Yeah. I had a deal. I was talking to Seth Abram, all those guys, HBO Sports Entertainment, I got involved with the mix with what was going on with my career.
Yeah.
And I got involved with a lot of those Reb Shoulders, a lot of those big time guys that did those things. And I was really close, but I'm glad, I got in, I got out, I got my brains, and I'm working with
you do. Yeah, you do, because, you're actually over here in the mortgage space. And before that, I think you're in the insurance space, and it definitely takes a brain to do that, But before we lean into that, one thing I want to say is, man, you take me back to my childhood when you start naming off some of these names. The Bo Jackson thing. I was a huge Bo Jackson. I was from Kansas. He played for the Royals, right? And what I visioned, because I had the poster on my wall, is the black and white with the bat across the back, right?
Yeah,
and the Bo knows everything. And like, that was such and you were part of all that, right? Like, which is just unbelievable, right? You're a piece of history, and man, but again, you did that because you got out there and did what it takes to get it done. And it's something so few people get to experience because they don't have the spirit and the passion to get behind it and make it happen, man. You made it happen, dude. That's so exciting, Jimmy. Like, so exciting.
You know what? I got to thank you. Thanks a lot. And you know what I have to say, because it's true. for some reason, I've always been able to get on the best teams, the teams that help challenge you, play better, the best. I've always been on the best, and I've been fortunate in my football career, my boxing career. Now with Arrive Home, I feel like I'm so confident to be part of this team. And I think it's that, the people that support you and that you work with
Amen.
Make you succeed. And Shawn, you're one of them.
What a great way to bridge over to Shawn King here. You know, it's so funny because we talk boxing, Jimmy Ellis and Shawn King, not Don King, right? You can pull it off, man. You can pull it, but you talk about great leaders, right, and great teams, and now we arrive home, right, and here we are with Shawn.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And before I start talking about any of my stuff, I want to keep talking about Jimmy, because one of the skills that people lack is they don't have the skill to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're too humble. They don't think, not everybody's Donald Trump where they can self-promote literally everything that they do all day. Right. But Jimmy, first of all, Jimmy came from poor. Right. So Jimmy knows poor. And so what a benefit. That's one thing that I would say about his story, that everyone that's come from poor, and you know about this yourself too, Devin, right? We talked about that briefly. Coming from poor creates an incredible fire in you. And Jimmy had that fire his whole life. He was going to support people. He was going to give back. He was going to do the right things. But he actually was Rudy. Like, you heard the story of Rudy. You could probably write a story about Jimmy, because he actually had to live in the weight room under Boise State Stadium for a little while, because he was kind of a dipstick. He was a big knucklehead, and he got kicked out of his dorm room, right? Yeah. But they threw him a bone and let him work there, and so he ended up living under the stadium to support himself with his brother at Boise State, and worked the entire time while going to school there and doing all that stuff so he could support himself, take care of himself. So this is a kid that, self-made. Yeah. By the work that he did, he figured out, I've got a niche here. I can push this. And, how many of us can even remember the names of our Pop Warner League football coach? That tells you right there that Jimmy's great at sales, right? There's something about the discipline of sales of these guys. They either go into pharmaceutical or real estate, or they go into lending, right? That they learn this discipline about dealing with disappointment and dealing with the hardness and the reality, all that stuff. Amen. And he just kind of grind through that. And he's got that. He's got that great ability to remember people and stay involved in their lives. And so from the second I met Jimmy, I was like, I want to have this guy on my team. I got to have him on my team. Man. It's great. You meet him at a conference. I'll lose track of him for a few minutes, and he'll have 6 guys taking pictures with him.
Thank you, Shawn.
I mean, it's great. So
you said how many people can remember, their first coach, right? Mine was Bob Workentine, right? His Salvation Army, right, in Salina, Kansas. I remember Bob because he was a big mentor of mine. But man, you talk about understanding struggle and disappointment, right, and rising up despite the adversity. And Jimmy, brother, you definitely fit the bill for that story, brother. And dude, it's just exciting to be able to sit here and have a conversation with you today and talk about your successes on the football field, in the boxing ring, but even in life, man. And you talk about him like being able to work a room. So let me tell you something, Shawn. I don't know if you do this. I called Jimmy to ask him a question, and literally within seconds we were best friends, texting each other, and the guy just knows how to connect with people on a level I've never seen.
Yeah, I know. It's hilarious. There's a certain group of guys, like there's a certain group of people that he connects with really well. And they're in every conference, they're in every office. And there's those people. And there's some people that connect with different people that maybe they wouldn't like Jimmy or whatever. But for his crowd, it's instant. It's an instant connection, and then
Amen.
And then there's success. And so, yeah, it's a perfect fit for us. He fills a really great niche for us, and we're really excited about what he's doing. He actually had a big innovation today where he got the first application in for a new tool we're using called the Ricky. It's passport form free, and it's something we used to do. It's like an AUS for cash flow, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But he got the first app in for that today, and that's kind of exciting. But to talk about adversity and struggle, like my history really quickly. I came up through down payment assistance. I did down payment assistance with Seller Assisted back in 2003 to 2008 when they made it, illegal. And we got kicked in the teeth because, that entire industry just got leveled. If you were in that industry, there just wasn't anything that you could really roll into that well. And so the industry just got drugged down, and there was a huge exodus of loan officers and people getting out of the business. I think you remember being in the space at that time too.
I do.
about that. And that was rough. And so I had to go through it. And of course I did really well in down payment assistance. I was with a company called Neighborhood Gold Buyers Fund and then Preferred Program. So I helped. My claim to fame is I probably, and I don't want to be a brag, but whatever, but I probably sold more down payment assistance than anybody else in the country.
Yeah.
I did that back in 2003 to 2008, did a lot of volume then. And then we started a little company called Payout One for a period of time. And then a couple of years went by and we had this idea of national down payment assistance using a Native American tribe.
Yeah.
And we had that back in 2008, but it involved basically running it through a government entity, which is a Native American tribe, and then raising the interest rate and creating a pay up basically to help defray the cost of the down payment.
Right.
And nobody really wanted to consider it then because they just thought, oh, let's raise the price of the house and do it the way we do it with seller assisted. But when that was made illegal, then there was kind of this dead zone from 2008 to about 5-6 years.
Yeah.
To where people really didn't want to do anything with it. And then it started to pick up. And I was one of the guys that I wasn't a founder of this company, but I was one of the guys that helped sell some of their first big accounts.
That's huge.
Called the Chinoa Fund.
Yep.
And from contacts that I knew back in the day doing down payment assistance. And I was able to get a pretty nice account or two set up and started to make some money doing that just kind of on the side. And it was good, but then the lawyers got involved and it slowed it down. But then it kind of hockey stick in 2016, it took off and took over the industry. And all the housing finance agencies that were out there didn't really have any competition. If you're in your state, who do you have? Like if you're Idaho Housing or Chaffa or whoever, it's just you and really nobody else. Maybe there's a municipality that has one, but they could set the rates, set the credit box, do all that. And so we were the first answer to kind of compete against some of that stuff. And
pioneer in the industry.
Really, I mean,
pioneer in the industry.
I'll give you a teaser. We're actually talking about doing some kind of promotional thing, in video about this story, the down payment assistance story, because these guys, there's a very, very small group of guys that have probably influenced more people's lives than a lot of your athletes that you admire, that kind of thing, because they've helped you do that transition from renting, where your net worth is $7,000 average net worth to a renter, $210,000 for somebody that owns a home. And I don't know if it's causal or correlated, but if you don't have generational wealth and like mom and dad are helping you out or somebody's helping you out, you got to be like Jimmy and you got to pull up your socks and you got to
real hard
weights and you got to work really hard. And it's tough to do because affordability is at an all-time low. Right now, the inflation's pressure is there.
It's a perfect storm.
Yeah. I mean, $400,000 for a first-time home buyer. Right. And so you're talking, $15,000 for just a down payment. It's a lot of money and people don't have it. And so these guys helped create a way to give more access to people everywhere in the country. And they probably have helped 500,000, maybe 1 million people that have switched over from basically being in the permanent rental class to the homeowner class, which just keep talking, but we know the benefits, right?
You're making homes affordable. You're making homes affordable. You're allowing people to achieve their dreams, things that they weren't able to do. And you guys are pioneers in the industry for doing this. You found a way, right, that other people weren't thinking about. And you said, hey, look, I think there's a way we can make this work before people really even knew they needed it, which is awesome, right? And then right now, I think more than ever, we're in a position where, people don't know how they can find their way home, right? And that's literally your name is Arrive Home, right? Like you've arrived, you could arrive home with this program, and we use it all the time. So I'm very familiar with it. In fact, I was talking to Jimmy earlier today. I actually used to work with, I hate to say competitor, right? But I worked with one of your competitors for a decade. I used to work with Click and Close and actually helped create the Smart Buy name, right? I didn't build the program, but I was there when we created the product. And, you guys did it first, right?
Well, they bought scratch and dent paper from us. That's how they got involved. So like everybody that's in the industry doing the national stuff is from the original guys, the OGs at Arrive Home were the ones that fund all that. And so that's that board, Rich, Todd, and Mike, Matt Pettit. And then I came,
So Mike Lima bought Scratch and Dent from you, and Jeff said, I like what these guys are doing over there.
Exactly. And they started Click and Close, right? Yeah. And so they call themselves the GOAT of down payment assistance, but that's not true. It's Arrive Home. Everybody knows it. But nevertheless,
you have the better product. I'll say it right here, and I probably shouldn't, but I'll say it right here. You have the better product. I know you do. So
well, we have an innovation. Like there's the seller release, right? So that's the service release, which is where basically all the housing finance agencies, they do a version where basically they're selling it off. We have another version to where we can allow people to retain servicing, and it's grown like wildfire, and it's freed us up to really get aggressive on pricing and make, the process super streamlined. We can purchase loans in 3 or 4 days. And so we've kind of added some innovations. When we had our divorce from Chinoa Fund and founded Arrive Home in 2022, August 2022, we're coming up on our 3-year anniversary. We did what every good company does. And we fell flat on our faces in the first, 4 months. And then, and nothing.
You mean it was hard to get started? What are you talking about, Shawn? You guys just didn't just jump right in?
No. I mean, everything that we had set up just kind of flopped. And then in 2023, we got profitable. And that was a big win for us. And 2024 was a banner year. We grew by 20 or 30x.
Let's go.
And just huge. And last month we did 1,570 registrations. And so, I mean, we're taking over the market. There's a momentum to it. There's a brand to it. There's an energy to it that I can't describe. And we're trying to help people. And one of the other products, I mean, obviously the down payment assistance is great. We do a second mortgage behind FHA loans.
Yes, you do.
And it's great. That helps a lot of people. And that's the thing that kind of helps people transition. But then there's also a group of people that are really great potential borrowers, but they can't qualify for the FHA box or conventional, right? And so a really good example are people that just on the 25th of May, they were permanent resident visas. They used to be, on May 24th, they could get an FHA loan as per the guidelines, but that guideline was changed on May 25th. And now these people that are permanent visas, they come over, they have W-2s, W-2 income. They have a social security number. They're sponsored by major corporations. They're professionals. They've got great income. A lot of times they're more frugal than we are. Definitely more frugal than we are. Different, like hardworking values. They come over from India. They had dirt floors there. I had a guy that I knew that was from India. He and his brother used to change their 2 pairs of clothing every day so they could wear a different pair of clothes every day. That's all they had. They had dirt, and they just work hard. These kind of people now can no longer qualify for FHA. So what's their alternative? Non-QM, right? So a 20% down or 25% down product. Our alternative is a product that we do. It's called the Earned Equity Program. And when someone's a near miss on FHA, but they got verifiable income, assets, and payment history, we're able to buy the home as a government entity. So a lot of people don't realize that on FHA, it's called the investment property exception. We can purchase property using FHA financing. Then we turn around, we do a home buyer finance agreement with the client. And then that allows them to have all the traditional rights of home ownership, except they can't use it as an investment property vehicle. But they get all of the, appreciation. They can improve. They have the right to use and enjoyment, all that stuff, and they can convey the property. So that's the key difference. Like they have the ability to control whether the property gets refinanced or sold or do an assumption or whatever. That's theirs. It's theirs contractually, and they own that right. Even though they aren't on the deed of trust, they own those rights. And that's important. That's an important distinction. They also, I'm sorry to just keep talking, but
no. This is an important product, Shawn.
Yeah. And so
it's exciting.
This is also the other part of ownership is security, right? So a lot of people with these equity share or these lease options or whatever that everybody does, it's typically a seller to a buyer that's doing that. We're a government entity and we have 1,500 properties in our portfolio. Our goal is to get people into home ownership. So we're not going to do that, first of all. But the other thing is we file a memorandum with the county. And that memorandum creates an encumbrance on title that we can't just sell the property out from under them. So we have a pretty strict power of attorney that we have to meet the exact terms of that if we have to go through a foreclosure process. And so by those two things, like giving the ownership rights and also security, they can be assured that this is a good deal for them in terms of, now I'm applying some of my payment goes towards actual principal reduction. So we put on an amortization schedule and they pay it down. And at the end of it, there's no equity share or split. A lot of these programs will say, if you grew by $100,000, we get 50 or we get 25. Right. Whatever. We don't have anything like that. They just
no shared appreciation. Yeah.
No shared appreciation. They just have
their equity
than us. Yeah. So our AM goes like this and theirs goes like that. And this gets a little wider, but we take that difference between what we pay and what they pay. And that books to our balance sheet is our portion. But at the end of it, if they pay off us, they own it. And we've had people that are successful already. We had a guy just pay off the other day, and they made about $30,000 after holding the property for a year. So the goal is for those people who can't save the money to have that 25%, they can allow the economic engine of real estate and appreciation to grow that equity so they can work for them, right? It's a huge benefit. Man. And they're getting in for, 5.5 to maybe 10% all in. On the program,
man.
Which is just a better option than, 25%.
You know what I just heard there? You know, he said, "Hey, excuse me for continuing to talk, but first off, you should just drop the mic and walk out of the room, right? You know, secondly, you know, I literally, for people that are in this industry that understand how big this program is, and these programs you guys are bringing across the board, right? This is no different than Jimmy when he knocked that first guy out and put his hands up in the air, and like the crowd was like." Right, like
there you go.
That's what Shawn's talking about, man. You know, we go back to pioneers in the industry, and you know, I didn't know we were going to have two underdog stories today, right? Like I knew Jimmy's story, but I didn't know the story of Arrive, and I heard that, right? And here's this underdog story of this company that said, "Hey, we're going to find a new niche that we can help build for homeowners, and it's going to take us a while. We don't know this, right? To get to where we can even be profitable what we're doing." And now we're here, but now that we're here, instead of just saying, hey, we contributed, we're good, we're going to stick with this one, we're going to build another program that opens up to a whole nother class of people out there that need to be able to buy houses right now. And here it is.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. We are about innovation, and the guys that fuel this organization are about growth and innovation and helping people. And that's kind of our mission. And we have some other stuff too. I mean, we haven't completely unveiled it. We got a solar product that's pretty hot. We think it'll be pretty hot. We're waiting for the secondary market to catch up, but there's an energy efficiency mortgage out there. Depends on what HUD does. I mean, HUD's going to, whenever you have an ideological shift, you know, from the regime change or whatever, that's going to change things. And so they may keep it, they may not. But right now there's what's called an SWT protocol where you can borrow up to 20% more than the home's value. So you can go up to 120% LTV, and that extra money can be used for solar, adding solar to the house. So the great thing is that solar can be part of the mortgage. It's not chattel. It's not like this weird lease relationship you've got to deal with if you try to sell the property down the road. What do I do with this glass that's on the house?
Right.
This is stuff that's actually part of the mortgage. And so the downside is the market hasn't caught up to this innovation yet, right? So appraisers aren't giving enough contributory value. So even though I'm 120 on my LTV, maybe, you know, they appraise it at 105 or 106. So there's a little bit of a gap there that they're going to have to catch up to the equity. But how great is it that I can add solar to my home and get down payment assistance at the same time by doing the process? I get the tax reduction, I get utility reduction in costs. I typically can get a lower interest rate than I would with, say, you know, a normal down payment assistance, which has typically a higher first mortgage rate. I can get a more market rate with this, but your LTV is going to be higher. So payment wise, we think it's going to work out to be a wash, maybe a little less. And we're still developing that product, waiting for the secondary market to kind of catch up and see how they're going to buy that. But that's a new innovation that we're trying to roll out.
So Devin, do you see why I'm so fired up? I'm fired up, baby. Hey,
I'm fired up with you, Jimmy.
Everything Shawn's been, you know, showing me and going through what I've been working with Shawn is so true. And most people don't really know or think about it. Right. So I'm just so pleased and happy that I can provide, you know, this knowledge to people that are out there in our community, people that didn't really know or don't really have an idea how it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I love, you know, at the end of the day, man, I got a chance to sit in on, you know, a training with Shawn a couple of weeks ago. I was like, dude, like this guy gets it, right? Like the thing is that, you know, it's one thing to be able to understand, you know, the dynamic behind what we're doing, but like you understand the mechanics and how it's built, and brother, you're a technician with that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, man, I love hearing you talk because I'm just like, dude, this guy really gets it, and he's very passionate about helping people. And because of your knowledge, you make it so much easier, you know, for us knuckleheads out there, right? They're like, what is he talking about? You know how to put it out in layman's terms that help people understand exactly what you guys are doing, because it's so technical behind the door, behind closed doors, what you guys are doing, right? But you make it sound easy because it is easy for the consumer, right? What you've built is easy and it's easy for the lender too, right? The lender doesn't have to jump through a lot of hoops to be able to provide these programs. So, man, I just admire what you guys have put together over there, and man, that's why I had to get you guys both on the show. One, because man, who doesn't want to tell the tale of Jimmy Ellis, right? You know, like. You know, what a legend, and you know what a great story, right? The Rudy of football and boxing combined, right? You know, out there, you know, literally living under a gym, just trying to make it work to get to where he is today. And then he gets out of his career and he's out here helping homeowners, right? Like just a special kind of awesome, you know what I mean? And then Shawn, you know, you've been in this side of the business for so long and you've figured out like all the loopholes and your team has figured out all the loopholes on how we can utilize these programs to make homeowners and build, like you keep talking about, generational wealth. And we talk about this all the time. There's so much wealth in real estate. Average home appreciates 5.5% a year in the United States. And we've only seen seven years over the last eight decades where we've had depreciated market in real estate.
Right.
Only 7 markets where that's happened. 7 out of 80, right? I mean, think about those odds. Are you going to get those odds on the stock market, right? Is your money going to grow like that for you anywhere else outside of real estate?
Nowhere. I mean, you have to have a living expense also. Like it's money you can choose to apply towards something or choose to apply towards nothing. That's why the earned equity program is so wonderful, right? And the idea of a mortgage is just so wonderful for people to use that living expense towards building an asset, a long-term asset. And so other thing I noticed, I think all 3 of us, we kind of share an attribute, and that is that we're all teachers in a way, right? Like you started this podcast thing because you have the ability to communicate and the ability to kind of flesh out the nuance of what makes people successful in the mortgage business. Yeah. And so, you know, I want to be a voice for this. I want to talk to people about this. Jimmy's the same kind of way. He's got to coach his heart, right? He wants other people to succeed. He's always talking about the team. I love the energy he brings to the team, and he's kind of a coach that way. I had a guy at a local conference that played at Boise State and said, you never wanted Jimmy Ellis to come into the locker room and yell at you. They were losing to the University of Idaho, which was their cross-state rival back in the 80s. And they were losing to him at halftime or something. And he came in and just started yelling at everybody. And they said, this guy's the meanest, like most terrible, but he just wanted to win, right? This guy told me this is the guy. Like we all fear Jimmy. We're not gonna say no to Jimmy or tell Jimmy he's crazy. And so, but there's a desire to lead and to help inspire people to be better. And that's my goal too. Like I actually took a time period where I became a teacher. I was a sophomore English teacher for a little while, and it changed my perspective. I was actually kind of in a low spot. It was after 2008, and after the crash happened, and there was
tough years, man.
There was nothing, it was very tough for me. And so I decided I'd get into teaching a little bit. And that's what I was doing when I started working before Chinoa Fund. And, but it really helped me wake up to the possibility and the reality of helping people and how that inspires you and propels you. When you start to do that and you start to feel all the potential around young people, it helps you reset. And I would recommend it for anybody that's looking for like a pilgrimage or to take some time off. It's not for everybody, but I'll tell you, it really helped wake me up to some things that needed to be done to help people. And never was it more clear to me the struggle of people that just don't have the opportunity. Kids would come in and they wore the same clothes every single day, or one can come tell me, I'm just so hungry. Do you have anything to eat?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you just want a meal. And so like it really just kind of turns your heart a little bit. Like what's going on in your house? You know what I mean? And you try to help them and their parents won't let you help them or whatever. And it's a social backup system that I'm 100% behind. A lot of things I'm very conservative on, but on that, if you want to give the kids meals at school for the school lunch program, go for it. You feed them as much as you can because no kid's going to learn when they're starving. But my point is I think we all have kind of a teacher's heart. Right. Absolutely. And I think that's important to be good at what we do because when you take a client, you're educating them. That's really what you're doing. They have this lack of information and you're giving them the information, the tools to be more successful in their life and better off than they were before. And the vehicle for that is homeownership through either a mortgage or one of our programs, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Devin, you see why I like this guy so much?
Oh, 100%, Jimmy. 100%.
Hey, Shawn King is a sincere, caring person.
Absolutely.
I know working with you and everybody on the Ride Home team that will succeed. And Shawn, you've been an inspiration to me.
No question. Well, you talk about education, Shawn. My mother was an educator. My grandmother was an educator. My great grandfather was an educator. Right. And the one thing that they always told me is don't go to education because you're not going to be able to support your family.
You won't make any money. Right.
Yeah. But you know what I did is I transitioned that education to this industry, right? And educating consumers, educating other loan originators, educating realtors, right? How to, get out there and either become a homeowner or how to get out there and build a successful business for themselves. And I think you're right. We're all educators on that. But, Jimmy, you started this thing off and said, I always joined a team that was a winning team, right? But I got to tell you something, man. I don't think that that's exactly the way it works. I think the team is a winning team because you're on it, right?
Hey,
Because of the passion that you pour in every single time you step into a room, you help people accelerate and get better.
I appreciate that. You know, helping others is what I'm all about, working with people. So I feel really, again, privileged to be on the Arrive Home team.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm privileged to be in the room with the two of you guys right now. We're the virtual room, so to speak, right? And just having a chance to sit here and talk to you guys, you know, and educate the world, right? Educate the world as to what's out there. You know, if you're a homeowner and you're listening in right now and you think, man, I can't be a homeowner. Yes, you can. Right? Yes, you can. And you can use some great programs that Arrive Home has for you to make that happen. Right. And hey, if you just were one of those people that was pulled away from being able to qualify, you know, just a few months ago, there's programs out there for you right now with Arrive Home that can help you become a homeowner, despite the fact that you can no longer qualify for the FHA with little down payment. You don't have to have a 25% down payment or a 20% down payment to qualify. There's programs out there that can get you home. You've arrived home with Shawn King and Jimmy Ellis. Guys, what have we not tackled today that we should have?
Hey, I just want to give a quick shout out to Todd Ludlow, Matt Pettit, the team of experts that we work with over at the Arrive Home, Shawn King, yourself, Chris Terrell, Ty Christensen, all the folks that are part of our team. I mean, it's so significant. It's so exciting for me because we're on the cutting edge of technology.
Amen.
And where we're moving. And I can't say enough how proud I'm part of you guys.
And I've got
Fire up, everybody! Fire up! That's my line.
I've got to echo that. You talked about Todd, Rich, and Mike, Rich Ferguson, Michael Whipple, and these guys. They started the industry, this national down payment assistance industry. There's 5 major competitors, and they had to struggle. They fought HUD in court.
Yeah.
Fund in 2019, and they had to dump a lot of capital into this business and other businesses to make this thing go. And I think, it's turning out okay for them, but there's a huge sacrifice on their part and a lot of risk because it's uncertain always when you put that kind of money and effort into things.
Right.
And so they believed in us, and they're the team that they chose us to come, and we've been doing everything we can to make it work. And it is working, but we owe a debt of gratitude to them. And then also I met Fadi the other day. What a great guy. What a great man. I love that guy. I talked to him for a few minutes, and I'm really excited to be working with him. And we love working with great clients, great people that have families and are concerned about their community, and they're connected and have vision. And I think he has all of those things. And so we're really appreciative of working with people like your team there at Premier. And so thanks very much.
Fadi's got some fighting experience. Fadi.
Yeah. Well, and we're going to talk about Fadi real quick. We're going to talk about all the brothers here at Premier Lending, right? Fadi, Ferris, and George, those are our leaders here at Premier. Fadi manages our back end secondary department. He's a true technician. And I think that's what you're talking about, Shawn, because you're a technician too,
right.
And at the end of the day, he is a big backbone for how we operate here and how we get to sign up with great partners like Arrive Home. So thank you for the shout out on that too, man. I couldn't agree with you more. There's a reason why I decided to hang my hat here literally with Premier Lending, was because I saw what they're trying to build here, and I want to be a part of that, and I want to help them grow so that we can serve more people and make more people homeowners alongside with partners like Arrive Home.
Good stuff.
Very good.
Yeah, killer. Well, guys, when the folks out there want to find you, I know you service every state, right? You're across the U.S.
Every state except for New York.
Yeah, sorry, New York. You guys make it too difficult up there.
Seriously, quit suing so many people, and then we'll be there.
So most states you can find Arrive Home, and if the folks out there want to find you, obviously if you're a consumer and you want to go direct and get the product from us, you can come to Premier Lending. But if you're a originator or a business owner in this industry, or even a client, I imagine you service as well, right? How do folks find Arrive Home?
You just go to arrivehome.org. So arrivehome, no space.org. And that's our website. You can look up all the sales team. You can find information there, and you can reach out and contact us. So that's easy.
There it is, right across the bottom of the screen, probably just rolled right through. But if you were driving and you didn't have time to catch that, just go check out the description, and we'll have that down there. So you just click a button and you will arrive home and get a chance to meet Shawn King and Jimmy Ellis live and in person. But guys, I asked before, any other closing notes, man? Anything we want to say before you tie off?
I can say lastly, thank you, and arrive home. We'll fight for you. Right, Shawn?
That's right, baby.
Thank you
Jimmy,
so much.
quite literally, we'll fight for you.
We want to fight with Jimmy. That's for sure. I got to say something on you.
I saw a video of him last year around Christmas time at the punching bag. And let me tell you something. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'4", 375 pounds. I still don't want to be on the other side of one of your punches, Jimmy.
He's just built different, you know, these guys. And the funny thing is George Foreman's a big guy too. You know, he's. We
didn't talk about George Foreman, but that was,
Tell you something real quick. I'm so sorry about his passing, George.
Yeah.
But 2019, he came to Boise State, Idaho. They awarded him with the humanitarian award, the Idaho Humanitarian Award, for his good deeds and the causes and everything.
He's a great person.
I was in line waiting to meet him, get his autograph, and when I got up to him, he goes, "Jimmy Ellis. Jim Ellis." He remembered me. And we sat down on the corner table. I chatted with him for about 20 minutes. I got a lot of the people I've kind of known. His brother, Roy Foreman, promoted him, and all the people involved. But what a testament to working hard, struggling, succeeding, and accomplishing goals in life that the most people don't have the opportunity to.
The working man's man. He's just a hard working man. I watched that video. And guys, if you want to check this out too, go over to YouTube and look up Jimmy Ellis and George Foreman. There's a special on that HBO did back when they fought. And man, it's just a great tribute, and it's awesome to listen to both sides of the tape, right? To hear what a great guy that George was and how he really, went after, doing what he does in his profession, outside labor. That was his form of getting ready for a big fight. And, what he said was, I was just a working man, and if I'm going to get out there in the elements and get it done, then that's what's going to separate me in the 9th round from the other guy. But, again, after Jimmy and him fought, he steps off and says just some great things about Jimmy. He said, "Hey, that guy could hit. I felt it." So, well, Jimmy, brother, you hit hard, and Shawn, you hit hard too. With what we've talked about today, and I can't thank you guys both enough for jumping on the show and talking about what you guys are doing out there. Because what a special thing that we get to do every day is help people become homeowners, man. So thanks so much, guys. Thanks for what you do.
Thanks, Tevin.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Go get them.
Go get them. Well, guys, thank you for tuning in. And hey, make sure you go over to Arrive Home, find them on social, follow them, like them, make some comments, right? Share that with the 3 people that that need to be homeowners and think they can't. But until the next time, guys, we'll see you then.
Awesome.